We all have a story, and this is mine. My story began when I was 4 weeks old. I went into heart failure. My parents were told to prepare for the worst. They baptized me, read me my last rites, and rushed me by ambulance to the IWK hospital in Halifax. That's where the doctors diagnosed me with a coarctation of the aorta and told my mother they needed to perform an emergency procedure to try to save me. So they couldn't use anesthesia. They were too afraid I wouldn't make it. So they told her they were going to give me a couple of ounces of whiskey to numb the pain. Most people start with milk. And the crazy thing is, that was literally my introduction to life. Survival, fear, chaos, hospitals. And since then, I've had multiple heart surgeries, 6 of them open heart. My first one at 7 months old, and my last one 2 years ago at the age of 46. And that last one almost took me. It was by far the toughest battle of my life. In the hours and days after the surgery, I went back into heart failure. My BPM dropped as low as 17. I was also in kidney failure. My creatinine levels were about 8 times higher than normal, and that brought on intense hallucinations. After a couple days, they stabilized me with medication. They installed a temporary pacemaker just to give my body a chance to fight back. When you add to that all the hospital drugs and about 40 pounds of water retention, I was a swollen mess in a very real battle between life and death. And after 5 days in the ICU, I was stable enough to be moved to a recovery ward. And that's where I met my roommate Douglas. Douglas was a 92-year-old decorated war veteran from the Canadian Air Force. And every night on the other side of the very thin curtain between my bed and his, Douglas would relive the war out loud. He'd yell orders, call out names, talk to his troops like he was right back in it. Full battle mode, loud, intense, at 3 o'clock in the morning. And after a couple of nights of hallucination, well, I couldn't help but join the army and join him in the fight. I was right there with him in the streets of Normandy, taking fire, saving people, doing whatever we had to do to survive. In my mind, I was taking orders from Douglas, and we were getting through it together. 2 people in a hospital room, decades apart in age, both fighting to survive completely different wars. Because when I came out of the hospital, I realized something. I wasn't in a war anymore, but I was still fighting. Fighting for my life physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Trying to figure out how to get back some kind of normal after surviving something like that. And that kind of experience, that's trauma. And the truth is, we all experience trauma in different ways. But we all have a story. Maybe it's loss and grief, a breakup, rejection, being bullied, anxiety, overthinking, illness. And a lot of us never really deal with those things properly. We mask them. We bury them. We distract ourselves from them. For me, over the years, that became different. I had vices and unhealthy coping mechanisms. Gambling, escaping, avoidance, anything not to go there. Because confronting the pain is hard, but eventually I realized something. Facing it is a lot lighter than carrying it. Around 2018, I started digging deeper into myself through therapy, research, podcasts, long walks, sunsets, reflection, and a lot of difficult inner work. I made it my mission to better understand my mind, my emotions, my trauma, and why I felt the way I felt. And slowly, things started changing. From 2018 to 2022, I got myself in great physical shape, but most importantly, my mindset became strong. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was moving in the right direction. But then life hit again. And in 2022, I underwent a surgery to repair my aorta, but unfortunately the procedure failed. Then in 2023, after several major stressful life events hit one after the other, I went into arrhythmia and had to be rushed back to Halifax by plane, where I spent 21 days in the hospital and eventually underwent an ablation procedure. And then came the open heart surgery in 2024. And the truth is, recovery doesn't magically end when you leave the hospital. People see you standing again, they see you smiling in a picture, but what they don't see is the exhaustion, the physical pain, the loneliness, the anxiety, or the reality of facing another rebuild. So I started rebuilding again. Now, by no means am I sitting here pretending I have life all figured out, because I don't. And my healing journey continues to this day. But I've been documenting that rebuild on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and other social medias in the hopes that maybe someone out there might see themselves in the journey and find courage in theirs. I started speaking, I started writing by myself and with my mom. She's been the biggest supporter through all of this, and I'm incredibly grateful and blessed to have her in my life. And this fall, she and I will be releasing our first book together, Stories of the Heart, a memoir explained through the perspective of the patient, me, being born with a heart condition and growing up in hospitals, and from the parent, my mother, having your 1 month child go into heart failure, and then the whole story of your life changes in that one instance. And if there's one thing I hope you take away from my story, it's this. No matter how much trauma, fear, anxiety, or pain you carry, healing is possible when you stop running from it and start confronting it honestly. Talk to someone, ask for help, take the walk, do the inner work, cry if you need to, forgive if you can, and most importantly, don't give up on yourself. Because sometimes your greatest pain becomes the very thing that leads you to your purpose. And no matter how dark life gets, no matter how many times you get knocked down, it's never too late to rebuild yourself. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now, still rebuilding. I'm sending you good vibes. If you're going through anything, please don't give up.